Let's go to the next slide and introduce Dr. Shelly Hester. She has been with Nu Skin for almost 9 years now, and digestive health is an area that she's passionate about. And in fact, gastrointestinal health, that was the focus of her doctoral thesis. So, wow, who better to teach us and educate us on this important subject? Dr. Hester, take it away.
Thanks, Anjanelle, and I'm so excited to be with you guys today so we can really dig into what the microbiome is and digestive health, and then talk about what ingredients can impact digestive health and microbiome. So before we dig into ingredients that can impact digestive health, let's talk about what is a healthy microbiome. And so in our small and large intestine, we have a lot of bacteria. There's actually over 38 trillion bacteria. So we have more bacteria in our bodies than human cells. So it's pretty cool. And these healthy microbiome are so important for good digestive health, but more and more research is showing that they're important for other body functions as well, like cognition, immune health, even skin health. And so there's this understanding that gut health is so important for digestion, but also overall health. And there's this concept that you have these friendly and unfriendly bacteria, so kind of these good and bad bacteria. And I think many of us are familiar with the bad bacteria. We know these are the ones that cause infections and we want to avoid. But what we don't hear about as much of the good bacteria. And so what research is really showing is that there isn't just a specific bacteria that may be best, but it's these good bacteria providing these functions that are good for our digestive system and overall health. Unfortunately, this balance of good to bad bacteria can be disrupted by a lot of different things in our lives. So if you have mental stress, that can cause a negative balance. Traveling, so when you're exposed to different foods and beverages, that can impact your microbiome. Additionally, when you have a bacterial infection, sometimes you have to go on an antibiotic to get rid of that infection, but that does disrupt your microbiome. And then poor diet, and we'll touch on this in a few more slides, but if you're not eating enough fiber, not getting enough fruits and vegetables, you don't have as positive of good bacteria as you need. We can see that digestive discomfort is common. So what the pie chart is showing is that 68% of individuals say that they have bowel symptoms. And then if we look at the bar graph on the right, you can see the blue bars are the males and the red bars are the females. And what is showing here is that the red bar is always higher. And this is showing that females, these women, report more digestive discomfort like bloating, flatulence, diarrhea, cramps more than men. So digestive discomfort is an issue for both males and females, but there does seem to be a higher incidence for women. And part of digestive discomfort is coming from a disrupted microbiome, along with other physiological factors in the body. Very common approaches is probiotics when somebody feels that they have digestive health issues. And this is a great approach. There's some really great probiotics out there that have very targeted benefits. And, the most common way that people, get their probiotics is eating yogurt. But one problem with this is that you're not eating it on a consistent basis every day, and you're not getting a dose that's actually efficacious for your microbiome and digestive health. There's actually quite a few different issues for probiotics. So for a probiotic to be effective, it has to stay viable all the way to where it gets into the large intestine, where it can actually colonize and have its beneficial functions. So to do this, you have to have the right pH, the right acidity of the product that it's delivered in. You have to have low oxygen because these bacteria, probiotics, really prefer not to have any oxygen in their environment. You have to process it very mildly. You can't have high heat. And, this is challenging. And then these probiotics actually have to survive that acidity, that low pH in the stomach, where they can get to that lower intestine. So probiotics can be a great approach, but there have to be other approaches as well that can help with the microbiome and digestive health. So in the next slide, you will see that fortunately there are other approaches. There's prebiotics, there's these probiotics like we've been talking about, and then postbiotics. And in addition to these three, you can also just live that healthy lifestyle. Is so important for healthy digestion. So getting physical activity every day, eating that healthy diet for fruits and vegetables and fiber, and even getting enough sleep and being consistent when you sleep. You know, research is coming out when you have disrupted sleep and your sleep patterns are different, this causes shifts in your microbiome. So it's really interesting. So in the next slide, we want to talk about what are all these pre, pro, and postbiotics and what do they mean? So like we talked about in the middle, probiotics, this is the living beneficial bacteria. And we don't have any more slides on probiotics today. Today, we're gonna focus on prebiotics and postbiotics. So prebiotics are nutrients that actually help the microbiome thrive. So prebiotics serve as the food for the bacteria so that they can thrive and grow. And then postbiotics are actually the beneficial substances that are produced by these bacteria. So these bacteria do not have to be alive. They can be dead, but they're still having this positive benefit within the body. We just want to focus here on all of us know that we need to eat, you know, these fruits and vegetables, and getting enough fiber is so important, but we aren't doing this. And this is what the bar graph is showing on the right, is that the average intake is below 20 grams a day, where the recommended intake for both women and men is closer to 30 or above. And so we're just not getting the prebiotics, that fuel for the microbiome that we need to get. Now we want to really touch on what are some ingredients that can impact the microbiome and digestive health. And the first one is a prebiotic, so xylo-oligosaccharides. It's quite a mouthful. So today we will refer to that as XOS. The next one is a postbiotic, which is a bifidobacterium, BPL1. And then we'll also touch on caffeine, which is providing healthy energy. And then we'll talk about an ingredient that provides antioxidant protection, pomegranate extract. So now we'll dive into XOS. And, you know, this is a prebiotic. And so what's really unique about XOS is that it's effective even at a low dose. So many prebiotics to actually have their beneficial effect on the bacteria in your gut, you have to have a fairly high dose. And the problem that comes along with that, especially when you start on a prebiotic, is that can cause some digestive discomfort. And so with XOS, you can give a low amount that's efficacious, and we'll go into a few of those studies in a second, but then you're not having any of those negative digestive discomfort effects. And so XOS is supported by a lot of clinical studies and has excellent stability. So now we're going to dig into a couple of the studies that have been done with XOS. In the first study, this was done in healthy subjects, and they took 1.2 grams of XOS in a rice porridge, or they took the rice porridge alone for 6 weeks. And what these subjects saw was that there was actually an increase in the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium population, so those good bacteria. And then there was a decrease in the Clostridium perfringens population, so kind of those bad bacteria. The second study was in constipated women. And this was a study where subjects took sucrose, which is this table sugar, with and without 0.7 grams of XOS for 6 weeks. And what they saw is that their mean frequency of bowel movements went from 2 at baseline to 4 after 6 weeks. So a significant improvement in digestive health. And so what both of these studies demonstrate is that XOS, it impacts those populations of the bacteria like we want for prebiotic, but then it's actually impacting digestive health in a way that people can feel. What's great about this study is that it's giving 2 grams of XOS daily. And what you can see compared to baseline to week 8 is that there's a shift in those bacterial populations. You're increasing the Bacteroides, you're decreasing the Firmicutes. And again, the shift is what you tend to see in healthier individuals. And what's great about this study is that you're not only seeing that microbiota shift and benefit, but also these subjects did not report any adverse effects. So just again, demonstrating this XOS is well tolerated while having benefits. So now we are going to really dig into BPL1 or a postbiotic. And so like I mentioned earlier, and Angela also mentioned, is that basically postbiotics are these substances that are produced by bacteria that have been shown to have a beneficial effect, even if the bacteria are no longer alive. And so this is really a new area of research that's evolving. And the main advantage is stability. Like we talked about earlier, probiotics have to be viable, they have to stay alive, and this can be challenging. But for a postbiotic, they can have their benefit and they don't have to stay alive. And so BPL1 is this naturally occurring probiotic and postbiotic. It was originally isolated from healthy humans, actually from healthy breastfed infants. And there's a lot of preclinical and clinical studies to support BPL1 and its effect. And it's been shown to work as either a live probiotic or a heat-treated postbiotic. And it's actually been shown for some indications that the heat-treated postbiotic is actually more effective than that live probiotic. And so the next slide is showing how BPL1 was initially selected. So the researchers actually did a screening study where they screened a number of bifidobacterium strains and lactobacillus strains. And basically they used this model C. elegans, which is this really good model of looking at lipid amount or fat reduction. And what they found is that BPL1 was more effective than any of the other strains that were screened. And then what the bar graph on the right is showing is that the researchers then found that the live BPL1 was effective at reducing fat, but so was the heat-treated BPL1. And so the researchers then dug into this a little more because they asked, well, what is it about the BPL1 that's unique for reducing fat? And so what we see in the next slide is where they actually looked at the live BPL1 with fat reduction, the heat-killed BPL1. And then what that last bar is showing is that they actually isolated a compound from BPL1, which is called lipoteichoic acid or LTA. And it was just as effective as both the live and the postbiotic. And so the researchers even understand what is the compound having these positive benefits. So the next ingredient we want to touch on is caffeine and how this is a really important ingredient for attention and energy. It's this healthy energy source. And there's a lot of studies that support its use. And the one that we highlight on this slide is just showing that in athletes, when they consume caffeine, it helps them basically exercise longer. It increases their time to exhaustion, but also these athletes were able to basically improve their cognitive skills during and after exercise. So just demonstrating that caffeine is important for this attention and energy effect. And then the next ingredient that provides both antioxidant benefits, but also microbiotic benefits is pomegranate. And specifically pomegranate extract is very rich in these polyphenol antioxidants. And what's really unique about this ingredient is that it is providing the antioxidant benefit in our bodies, but actually these pomegranate polyphenols are unique in structure and that they can actually get into our lower intestine and interact with our microbiome. And during this interaction, the microbiome actually utilizes the polyphenols or these antioxidants for fuel and makes metabolites. And these metabolites are then absorbed into our body and have these systemic benefits. And so this is a really great ingredient for antioxidants, but also having that benefit on the microbiome. The ingredients that we've talked about today, they support a number of benefits in our body. They can support this healthy microbiome and intestinal health. They can support this good balance of the good and bad bacteria that we talked about. They support healthy digestion. They're supporting healthy energy, especially that caffeine, supporting your antioxidant network with like the pomegranate ingredient. And then it is quite unique in that it is, these ingredients are providing these benefits to the healthy microbiome through this dual approach of using both pre and postbiotics to target a healthy microbiome. So thank you so much.